Alright, LEGO Tactical Review. We're going to look at the strategic high and low points of LEGO castles, starting from the beginning with LEGO Castle 375. The original castle, the yellow castle, the cheese castle. There it is. Sadly, we don't have the actual set, so we can't point out everything about it, but we've got the best parts of the instructions that are the most telling, so that way with y'all.
Oh, wait, look! We can see what shape it is!
The shape of the castle
is
a square.
It's a square!
Squares are nice. Squares are nice. They
Squares are very nice.
give you a adequate area on the inside for your bailey, for your courtyard. And they give you cardinal directions to see from. They're easy to build that way, but they give you corners as well, and enemies can hide around corners. You can't see around wall corners very well, which is why it's nice that this one has buttresses, especially this corner buttress. So these buttresses help hold up the castle, but also keep enemies away from the walls. I like this corner one. It keeps your enemy from getting close to the corner of the walls, so that if he's up against it, he can still be seen by folks who are defending.
So you'll notice around the perimeter of the castle, a lot of holes. Those are going to be your arrow slits.
Yep, we got a lot of arrow slits, very regular intervals. You'd be able to see through your walls, shoot through your walls. That's really nice. We've got some extensions out here, these towers built outward on either side of the gatehouse to help with its defense. This arrow slit I'm not as big a fan of. It's going to be you can shoot forward or a little to the sides. If you had moved this arrow slit one stud over, it'd be a little less regular with these, but you'd be able to shoot in a few more directions, see a little bit more around this corner. Also disappointed that building out the towers, they only have a forward-facing arrow slit and none off to the sides. I'm talking about this corner here. The arrow slit that butts up against the wall and the arrow slit that faces only forward. If they had arrow slits on all three sides of those towers, there would be so much more you could see. We've got a block back here that's going to help keep the gate shut, because there's two entrances to the castle, which means you'll need pretty much twice as many defenders to be at your gatehouses, so that's a lot of manpower. But it could split your enemy. Got a drawbridge on one and your standard doors on the other, with a block of stone in front to keep the doors from being opened. We have here the donjon. This is the main castle. It's got a nice window. Could be stained glass. It could be just a glass pane, but it's a high window, so it's not going to be as easily broken because it's so high up. And it has a little balcony around it. You can't get to much of that balcony just through the two doors, and there's a very small footprint for these living quarters.
Yeah, 4x6, so that's a total of, well, 24 studs to live.
A little small.
Yeah, that's very...
Even for a knight. This isn't technically a king's castle, it's a knight's castle, but still, even for that being the lord of the land. We have the solid gray up top there. You cannot get up to the top of this roof. And
you cannot get up to the top of any roof.
The floor is also solid. This is above a gate. If there were some murder holes in there, I know it's the living quarters, but murder holes might keep them living for longer. If you were able to shoot down at intruders who were trying to make it through your back gate. We see here that murder holes would drop it right on defenders who had made it through the gate. This gate is also flat on top with an arch. That means you could climb over the gate and drop down to the other side. It's a bit of a drop, but really not that much. I think these gates are here to keep folks who climb over the gates from getting onto your battlements, your ramparts here. These are in the way, these grates. And you're able to shoot down from the ramparts to protect the inner courtyard. You can hurl projectiles down at enemies who may make it through that door. The front gate, not so much. Once they make it through, you're reliant upon towers and folks who can't see around corners. So that's a downside of these additional towers in front. The towers have suggestions of machicolations. They're on all sides for all of the towers. That would be necessary on the two side towers. I really appreciate that with the side towers, there are three sizes of windows or doors. The inward-facing windows are bigger because they're facing inward. You don't have to worry about attackers. And then the others are arrow slits. And then doorways, nice wide doorways that you can get through. That lets you walk all the way across. There's some gray steps through the towers as well. That's really nice to see, but no steps up to the walls. No steps up to the towers either. Now the machicolations on the donjon, you're going to be dropping onto your balcony. You won't really be able to get intruders, attackers with those. The full castle together, we've got the drawbridge in here with a single string. That's going to put a lot of stress on your rope. It's a simple method and really good for a toy, but there'd be a lot of rope burn if it's a rope and a lot of getting caught if it's a chain. And if you cut one, it becomes a bridge, not a drawbridge. It's going to be really easy to get into your castle. There's a lot of places for folks to hide in this very empty courtyard, which is a little odd. There's columns and pillars that enemies who make it through could hide behind, and not a lot of places that are useful. There's no blacksmith shop, no armory, no granary, no cistern, those sorts of things. It is just walls. But a high point of this castle is the figures that come with it. We have a total of 14 figures, 4 armor bearers, 4 knights, 5 guards, and a captain of the guard, as well as 4 horses with some variation in color and an interesting use of piece for the ears.
Speaking of variation, you'll notice that each knight in their respective armor bearer has a different crest. On those crests, they all have to be applied. They're all stickers.
Now they're beautiful. We've got a Maltese cross, we've got 3 clubs, we've got a crown and chevrons. I appreciate very much that these are symbolic heraldry as opposed to modern day just pictures, where it's a picture of a dragon or a picture of a lion as opposed to real heraldry. I really appreciate that about this, but there are a lot of stickers. Got your polearmsmen with their halberds, some short swords, and lances for the knights. Knights have interesting helmets. I think they look very much like first generation clones. So too, Star Wars. The full castle together. We've got our guards posted on the outside, presumably because these knights have been invited by the Crown Knight to a tourney, perhaps a jousting match, and so they have brought everything that would be necessary for that. I wouldn't have stationed them on the outside of the walls myself, but I believe it's a sufficient garrison to hold a castle of this size. We've got the alternate model out here, beautiful windows and some battlements, a chimney, some doors and things. Indefensible. These walls are extremely short. This gatehouse has no murder holes, no machicolations to speak of. But when it opens out, I appreciate that the towers are on corners now for ends of the walls. That's really nice to see. Up top here, that the towers have a lot of wall between them. They seem to be effectively used. The little walls on the drawbridge don't seem to be getting in the way of anything. But these knights look very angry with brandished swords and lowered lances, and this fellow's guarding the drawbridge over here. I wonder if there may be a mutiny against the Crown Knight, and he is enlisting the help of his fellow lords to put down this low-life rebellion. But
perhaps be greedy barbarians. Who is to say?
But the castle, fairly defensible, pretty well designed. Some mistakes from the architects, I'm sure, but overall pretty good. We would want more stairs, higher crenellations, more machicolations, better placed arrow slits, more defensible gatehouse so you can actually face toward the gate as opposed to just forward and out, and maybe some living quarters.
And maybe some bows.
Some bows
and
would be nice.
crossbows or something like